If you are an estate agent, letting agent, or someone who is interested in the property market, then the UK property market stats show, is for you. Each week, myself, Chris Watkin, along with a special guest, this week it's Ben Madden, we'll come to Ben in a second, go through what's happening in the UK property market. The show itself lasts approximately 1 hour. The first 60% of the show goes on the UK property market, and then we spend the last 20 minutes or so looking at a town or a city. And this week we are going to the most beautiful town in South Birmingham, which is Redditch. Have you ever been, Ben? Although you've been in London, you wouldn't even know probably where Redditch is.
Well, I don't get north of Watford very often, so no, this is we're getting out of my comfort zone, Chris.
So if you look at Birmingham, it's on the south side, probably at around 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock. If you're coming up the M40, it's on your left-hand side before you get to Solihull. So there you go. Nice part of the world, actually. And I thoroughly recommend that you go there. And some of my wife's family originally came from around there, so we know it reasonably well. Okay, let's do the chit chatter. Who's Ben Madden? Ben Madden is on the advisory board for Fine and Country nationally. He is an extremely well thought of estate agent. A lot of people look up to him. And Ben comes on the show on a rotation every probably 10 or 11 weeks. So it's good to have you back, mate.
Good to be here, thank you.
Bless you. Listen to what he's got to say, ladies and gentlemen. If he doesn't know it, he'll know someone that does, but he does know an awful lot of stuff. We're looking at week 12. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We didn't have a show last week, but even I have to have a holiday. So we were away last week. So we'll be having a brief look at week 11, but week 11 and mainly week 12. Week 12 being Monday, the 24th of March, all the way through and including Sunday, the 30th, which is Mother's Day. So we've got a quarter of the year under our belt. Doesn't seem like 2 minutes. It was Christmas, mate, does it? So without further ado, we'll go into the first part of the show where we look at the UK property market. And then, as I said, separately, we'll then afterwards go to Redditch. Just before I do mention this, if you're not from Redditch, you might find it awfully dull and boring, but we're actually going to be using a bit of kit that can prove whether you or your competitors overvalue and how close you get to the original asking price. And how good you are as an estate agent selling houses. So if you suffer from cheap fees or overvaluing, then why don't you stop for the second part of the show and we'll show you the bit of kit, which is game-changing stuff. It's very easy for me to say that, but I know myself and Ben and a lot of other people in the industry are big fans of the bit of kit we're going to show you in part two. Without further ado, mate, we'll save that for the second part of the show. Let us go and have a look at those stats. So, ladies and gentlemen, what normally happens is, for those of you who've not watched the show before, we go through the stats and then we, subject to the time, so first we'll start with listings, and I'll just spend 30 seconds going through each, and then Ben will give his insight. So, for the week of week 12, we put 39,744 properties onto the market with an average asking price of 444,337. Year to date, we are on 435,000 properties that have come onto the market, which is 7% ahead of 2024 and 10% ahead of the averages that were seen in the combination of 17, 18 and 19. This graph here shows you on the white line is 2025, red is 2024, and you can see the corresponding years are on the colored map there. Just before we talk about the graphs, all the graphs are available to download on the link. If you're listening to this on YouTube, if you go to the description, scroll down to the bottom, there is a link there for you to download the graphs. If you're listening to this on podcast, SoundCloud, again, there's a link that you can use to download them. All I ask is that you do not use them on social media because my daytime job is I'm a ghostwriter for estate agents writing articles about the property markets, and I reserve these for my clients to use, but I'm more than happy for you to use them on your valuations and internally. So it's not bad for listings, mate, is it?
Looks very good, very positive indeed.
And ladies and gentlemen, Ben doesn't like to download the graphs, and I have a little link and I can see if he downloads them. And I know there's some naughty people out there that say they don't look at them, but I know they secretly download them. And I'm not joking you, mate. They do download. You say, you can't kid me, mate. Can't kid a kidder. But I tell you here and now, Ben doesn't. So yeah, it's not bad, is it? Let's just remind ourselves on the stock levels because this is important. Okay, here's the stock levels. So these are the stock levels that where we were coming in. Now, I know we're filming this on Tuesday, the 1st of April. I normally get the stats around the 2nd or 3rd. So we'll have to wait till the next show to look at the end of March figures. So the yellow lines are the properties for sale on the 28th of Feb going through to the 1st of March. Okay, so I haven't got the March going into April figures yet. You'll have those next show, but it just shows you that stock levels are higher than the last couple of years, and still higher than the 17, 18, and 19 figures. But again, let's just remind ourselves that figure was 1.2 to 1.4 million, depending on which month you were in 2008, and that was when we had oversupply and prices came down. So the fact that there's more properties coming on the market doesn't really concern me. And you've got to admit, Ben, you do need a little bit of fluidity in the market, to wrap people out to get their houses on the market, don't you?
Yeah, and I think it makes for good viewing. We've talked about this on previous shows, and you've referenced the numbers to 2008 and how an oversupply can have such a horrible impact on the market. But we're not looking at oversupply. We're looking at, did you say it's an 8% increase year on year?
7%.
7%, sorry, which that sounds wonderful to me. 7% more stock, absolutely. Bit more fluidity, bit more in the way of options. Yeah, certainly it will have a slight impact on pricing, maybe pricing strategy, maybe time on market. But all it does is it requires agents to sharpen the saw and be very good at what they do and not rely on the market to sell homes. And that for me is a really good position for us all to be in.
What you mean, estate agents actually have to do some work? Oh,
You know
well,
what? No, Chris. No, actually, I'll be a bit more specific because I think agents they work reactively. They work when that phone rings, when they've got to do a viewing. We're all doing the busy work, but actually, what I think this year, I don't know who's saying this is, but I enjoy it. Well, I have done for the last couple of years. A strong market makes for a weak agent. And right now, I think the market feels buoyant and positive, but it requires some real skill. And I think you need to have a few years every now and again where the skill is a real requirement because it keeps us all honest. It keeps us sharp. It keeps us doing a good job. It makes us accountable to our clients. And we can't just rely on the market to get it done. We've got to step up. So I think we're in a great position. And the good agents out there, the really good agents, will be looking at this and salivating. The opportunity this year is phenomenal.
now we're filming this on Tuesday, the 1st of April. Trump is going to be announcing some sanctions. Do you think it will have a material effect on the property market in the short term?
I okay. If look at the ripple effect, if it's consumer confidence drives the market, consumer confidence is based on headlines in newspapers or clickbait on the internet, and Trump is fantastic for a headline or a bit of clickbait. So does it have a short-term impact on consumer confidence? I think there's something there, yes. I think there are those sitting on the fence that don't need to move, that haven't been thinking about moving for 3 years. They've been thinking about moving for 3 weeks. Those guys will sit, they'll hold off, they'll wait. But those that are in the mindset that we need to move, we want to move, I think with everything we've experienced over the last 5 years, bearing in mind we were in lockdown 5 years ago, almost to the day, I think the UK economy and more specifically the UK consumer base is more resilient than Trump and his antics. And they're just going to get on with it because we've all had enough.
Let's be honest, the look at the stats here. We'll come on to the sales in a second, but we've had doom-monger headlines for the last 3 years, and everyone's ignored them. Let's just remind ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, that Easter's on its way, and I know Easter's quite late this year. What is particularly interesting is that you can tell when Easter is, not because it's in the calendar, but it tells you when this first dip is. Now, interestingly, this dip here, the green line, is 2019, and Easter is almost give or take a day or so on the same date. So I suspect that listings will fall off in 3 or 4 weeks' time. Because what happens, I'm just making you aware, ladies and gentlemen, we will have 4 listings, 3 dips, Easter and the 2 spring bank holidays. So be aware of that. Okay, that's important. And if you actually look at all of those lines in isolation, you can see Easter and then you can see the 2 dips. So look, that there is always, that is the second bank holiday. And then you've got the first bank holiday, and then you've got Easter. So you've got Easter's, then you've got another, then you've got one bank holiday, and then there's a second bank holiday. And guess what that is? That is the August bank holiday. So bank holidays have a massive effect on the property market. I always find that fascinating. Right, let's move on. Price reductions. Again, we haven't had the final stats through yet, so we will have to wait till next week. But we are reducing on average 12% of the properties that we have for sale in a monthly basis. Last week we reduced 24,079. The average price of a property that was reduced was 400,877. Again, I know we sound like a broken record here, mate, but quite frankly, it is reducing 12% of the property, 1 in 8 of the properties you have for sale enough on a monthly basis when we're only shifting 53% of the properties we're actually putting on the market.
So I guess looking at that, so if we sell, to make it easy for me, if we're at 54%
exchange, that's exchange to listings.
So what's the under offer?
About 65, 66.
Okay, 60. Okay, if we're let's say we're at 66 and there's 12% reductions, we're at 68, we're at 78. So you've got 22% left in the market that are either not selling or not being reduced. I guess there's an argument to say that maybe that 22% are properties on the market in the first 4 weeks of marketing.
Yeah.
So maybe they've got to go through that time frame where the agent's got to provide enough value, provide enough feedback, build enough credibility.
Yeah, so at any one time, there's 160,000 properties, because you can times that by 4, which you're not going to expect a price reduction on, are you? So we can strip that out. That's 160 off, just remind ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, 675. Okay, so therefore, that's showing you that we
23%. Yeah. Bang on.
I don't know.
It's not bad. So yeah, I would say maybe from because I haven't reverse engineered it like that with you before, and we normally say we could be getting more price reductions, but actually, maybe that sounds about right.
If it ain't sold after a month, you should be getting the price down, shouldn't you?
But then I think that's what we're saying, that if it's not sold after, if 66 odd percent are being sold and 12% are being reduced, then the balance is what's come to market in the last 4 weeks. So it's an oversimplification, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think you're being oversimplified there, mate. Anyway, there you go. That's another story for another day. Let's move on and look at sales. Okay, so this week, in terms of sales, we are hold on, I'll just pull this up. Well, can you believe it, ladies and gentlemen? This is the best week for sales in gross sales in 2025. How good's that?
That is not bad at all, is it?
Not bad at all. Okay. Tell you what I'll do is let me just have a quick look and find out the last time that we were at that sort of level. Give me a second. Hold on. 28,000. Okay, hold on.
And while you're looking for that, I might make the point that lots of people have been talking about the market falling off a cliff because of the changes to stamp duty, which would imply that the last 4 weeks we shouldn't have seen good sales volumes. But best week of the year, this week, sort of walks all over that, doesn't it?
Well, we didn't have a month. We didn't have a month. Well, actually, we can look. Hold on. 2 seconds. The answer's staring in front of us. You prat walking. If I had a brain, I'd be there. Look, when was the last time we had gross sales at that sort of level? And that was
2018.
2018. Okay. Now hold on a second. Let's look at 22. We haven't got 22 figures in this. And that's deliberate, okay? Because that was a silly year. But taking the COVID years out, this is the best sales month we've had since 2018.
Not
Now,
bad.
oh, yeah, it's not bad, is it?
Not bad.
Not bad at all. Considering, look what was set, 21, 22, 23,000 in 2017. Look, this is a massive numbers. So the market's doing really well. There are more properties for sale. Interestingly, the percentage of homes selling, exchanges versus listings, is almost identical to what it was pre-COVID levels. So there's more houses coming on the market and more houses selling, but the percentage of houses selling or compared to listings is almost identical to pre-COVID levels. Bloody overvaluing. Don't get me on overvaluing, mate, because I'll just blow up. What's it with bloody estate agents overvaluing? Anyway,
Let me ask you a question. And I appreciate this is the stat show and it's not the train the world of estate agency show. But I've just walked out of a training session with my team, and one of the statements was thrown up, and the entire training session went from what I'd planned to now we're just going to focus on this for the next 45 minutes. And the sentence was the most important thing to the prospective client, to the homeowner, is the price. What would your retort be to that?
I would ask the question, what's more important? In London, 36% of houses subsequently go through to exchange contracts. Okay. So my question would be it's I think I think we as estate agents assume that price is everything, but if you actually look at the surveys and say what's more important, would you rather have a 70% chance of selling and getting a good price or a 36% chance of selling and but getting an exceptional price, but you only have a 1 in 3 chance? It's not what we think, it's what the punter thinks. But if we don't actually ask the question, Mr. Punter, I can either get you an exceptional price, but have a 1 in 3 chance of selling, or a decent price with a 70% chance of selling. Which one would you go for?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it literally because that sentence from one of my team that's very, very experienced, really good at what he does. Um, I took issue with, and we had a really, I mean, a good debate. You try and get everyone's opinion on it. Because the word price for me is a risky choice of term. When you talk about price, you're saying that for every consumer, the most important thing is getting the highest price. Is he getting the right price? Is he getting the correct valuation? And then if actually the most important thing to the consumer is about the price, how are they selecting an agent if three agents give the
Okay,
same price
right.
valuation?
Well,
So,
okay. So I would turn that one around and say most estate agents would also say that fee is the most important thing.
well,
Okay.
yeah. So there's a few retorts, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I,
However, if you look at the survey that Peter Knight does with the Property Academy, and they've asked this question in so many different ways, and the figure always comes in between 16 and 17%. 16 to 17% of homeowners want the cheapest fee, irrespective of the service they receive. Okay. If you were to ask most estate agents what percentage of homeowners is fee the most important thing, I would actually probably say somewhere in the order of about 80 to 85%.
yeah, well, this is so. Look, I'll give you first hand. We've literally just had this debate downstairs. Although I would say, and of course I'm biased, I would say my team don't represent the average, and they're really good guys. So they didn't get sucked into a huge amount of it's about fee. Specifically though, regarding that survey, it is slightly difficult, I think, to ask a consumer that's already selected their agent and quite possibly already selected an agent with a low fee what's most important to them because they've already got their fee. And so it's not necessarily on their radar if everyone's just charging 1%,
Okay.
for instance, as an average. They've maybe selected for some other reason. But I completely agree with you. We are not a commodity. We don't do business based on fee. We do business based on value. And I think for me, it's value. And in the eye of the consumer, it's about value. They select the agent that presents the best value for them, and that value for them could be a million different things. We know it could. But that I just find that a really interesting sentence. The most important thing to the consumer is price. From someone that I've worked with for 17 years, that was really interesting.
'Cause, I mean, all we're selling is a service, and if you know, and there's studies beyond compare that has proven anything that humans buy, there is normally around 1 in 6 that want the cheapest. If that was the case, why does that your valuer who says price is everything or fees the most important do their shopping at Waitrose?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, the retort, one of the retorts downstairs was, if um, if it's about the lowest fee, why is an ex-agent who openly communicates that they're the cheapest agent in town, why are they not the most successful agent in town? Because of course, not everyone is fee motivated, but you've got your fee merchants out there, which you correctly point out. 1 in 6 people is a fee merchant. They'll buy cheap and they'll buy twice, and such is life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just here we go. It is our job as estate agents to prove our value, not for the vendors to see our worth.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, like that. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and if, in the absence of proving value, in essence, therefore worth, then the only thing a vendor can and a landlord can judge us on is is our fee. And I think we, as an industry, are not very good at proving our worth and our value. That's why later in the show we're going to be looking at this bit of kit, which independently proves which Redditch agent is the best.
Teed you
On
up quite nicely
stats.
there.
Okay, let's move on because, as I said, with stat show, it's not the did enjoy it. Let's go. Right. Okay. So gross sales, again, let's just confirm ourselves. 13% ahead of last year and 23.3% ahead of 17, 18, and 19. Now, this is interesting. I actually texted this to you yesterday, mate. And this just shows us the percentage split down of listings by price range and the sales. So 34% of listings that have come on the market in Q1 have been in up to the 250 range, whilst 40.6% of properties of the ones that sold have been under 250. And you can see here that the further you go up that range, more listings are coming on and less sales.
Ah, you know what? I messaged you back about this yesterday, and I think I misinterpreted. My interpretation was that, for instance, I didn't I didn't tally up that you've got two sets of 100% there. I was thinking that certain segments of the market are just performing extraordinarily well, but I see now it's a split of what's selling. Okay, that makes much more sense to me now.
There you go.
That's quite interesting.
We like
And
to
that
do stuff that's interesting, mate.
so that is
So
up to
5.2.
250. Is that going to be based on activity regionally more than based on size, do you think?
I mean, you guys in inner London are a law to yourself, which we've proved time and time again. You know, 250 gets you a three-bedroom semi or a two-bedroom semi in most places in the out 30, 40 miles outside London.
Hmm.
There's always going to be exceptions like Oxford, but 250 gets you a fairly decent house in most locations.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And yes, okay, the London market is big, but the UK market is bigger, excluding London. Um, Interestingly, I did this same exercise a year ago, and the numbers have hardly changed.
Hmm.
Hardly changed. Yeah, it's you could almost take last year's figures, just Tipex them out, and they'll be almost identical. Bit of movement, but nothing much. What is particularly interesting is the 2 or 3 million, the 3 million pound plus market. Hardly anything is selling, but it never does. There you go. Right, let's move on. 28,055 properties sold subject to contract. 314,000 properties have sold subject to contract year to date, which again Like we said, it's 13% ahead. We'll just have a quick look. The price difference between the properties coming on the market, which is the red line, and the orange line is the average price of the properties going sold to contract. Again, we'll just put that there. Here you go. This is just in stark relief. The houses that are coming on the market last week, 440,000, 444,000, whilst the average price of a property selling is 365. If you're going for the upper middle to upper end market, guys and girls, you're not going to be paid on much. That's why the fees are higher. So if anyone ever says to you, why are the fees higher on bigger price properties? Because they have a lower chance of selling. That's your get out of jail card. There's your price difference, 21%, which is that percentage gap there. Sell-through rate, that's the percentage of houses that are selling off your existing properties. So at this moment in time, and again, these are the figures for February because the March figures are not through yet. But I suspect what they were in February was 16% of houses that 16% of your residential sales stock is going sale agreed per month. And that will rise slightly to around 18 or 19% as we go through the next couple of months. Because if you actually watch these graphs, they are all the same. That's Jan, Feb, March, April, wobble down through the summer. Always a quick pick up there. Look, it always picks up there in the autumn, and then she drops down again. I find it amazing that the graphs are always the same shape. Up, swiggle, swiggle, drift down, bit up, down. Does it all the same. It's amazing. The metronome levels of the property market. Any thoughts on sales before we go on to fall throughs?
No, I mean it's all falling within I guess the realm of we're comfortable with this. Nothing too extreme, nothing too crazy.
It's Groundhog Day, ladies and gentlemen. And again, that's the beautiful thing about the property market is that there's no short, sharp shops. Yes, we obviously had it in 2000 and 2020 with COVID, but fundamentally, the property market goes on. Let's move on to fall throughs. In terms of fall throughs this week, we fell through 6,315, which again, because we'll just remind ourselves, that's the pipeline figure. 451,000. So the numbers are going to be higher on the fall throughs. So, that's why they're up in the early 6,000s. The percentage of houses falling through. So again, we have two metrics here. The first one, this is this fall through rate, which is number of fall throughs this week expressed as a percentage of the gross sales going in. I'm not a big fan of this, but that's 22%. Was it 22? 22.5. My favorite figure is the percentage of sales pipeline that fell through in the month, because again, you're measuring the pipeline fall through, not comparing it against the sales coming in, because it has no direct relationship. We're working on 6% there. Again, nice and dull and boring. I mean, it shouldn't be at those sort of levels, should it? But that's estate agents can't get off their backside and go and look at reservation agreements and instructing solicitors before. Yeah, and let's not even talk about conveyances, because there's a nice young lad who got shot at the weekend. I know he's a bit cheeky, but I think, yeah, that was quite telling, wasn't it? Did you see it?
It was.
Yeah. Shall we move on to net sales? Okay.
Yes.
So net sales. So again, we're including 21 and 2020 and 21. So the yellow line is 2020. As you can see, it fell off. So again, can you believe it's 5 years since lockdown? But we are.
Does that just not feel crazy to you? I can't get my head around how quickly the last 5 years has passed.
And isn't it interesting that people say, I get people ringing me up in the morning saying I want to be an estate agent, and I said the worst thing you can be is start an estate agency on day one, spend a year creating the foundation, becoming the local property expert. I say I can't do that. I need to crack on. And I say, well, can you remember when we went into lockdown? They said, yeah. That's see that 2 minutes ago. And I said that's 5 years ago, isn't it?
Crazy.
But, yeah. And I think that's the thing. Ben, is the two pillars to success in business is hard work and patience, but they have to be of equal stature. Yes, you have to be self-aware. Those are your foundations of where the pillars are going to be standing. But I think a lot of people out there are very hardworking, but it's the patience game. What have you got What have you
I
got?
can't quite see it. So on my my SuperNAF board that lots of people that have seen videos will have seen, it says above average output plus consistency plus patience equals long-term success.
Bang on.
Yeah, it's good.
And that's the if anyone any youngsters in their 20s are reading this, if you can learn patience, you've won. You have won so big. If you can eat dirt now to fly with the Eagles in 10, 20 years' time, you're going to win so big. Right. Okay. Net sales year to date, 10% higher than 24 and 17% higher than 17, 18, and 19. These are great figures, guys and girls. There's the numbers. Okay. Again, it's not 17% ahead of those, but we had a good start. So price changes as a percentage of listings and gross sales as a percentage of listings. We've already done those stats there. Pound per square foot figures, we haven't had the March figures in yet, so we'll be getting those for the next show. So we'll be able to tell you there. Right. Those are the end of the first part of the show. Is there anything you want to add on this before we go to Redditch?
No, just nice and positive, nice and consistent.
Nice
Don't
and
you
dull
just
and
love
boring.
boring? Yeah. Oh, boring is so sexy.
And on that note, let us go to Redditch. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be using a bit of kit called Insight. Insight is from the firm 20EA. They have a number of platforms, one of which is Insight. Insight is like Rightmove Plus on steroids with lasers and glitter balls. It is truly amazing. The bit of kit allows you to go back not just 1 year like Rightmove, but goes back 5 years plus the year that you are in. So we're going to almost do a Rightmove Plus analysis on Redditch, mainly on residential sales with a little bit of lettings. Now, why am I doing this? Ladies and gentlemen, my daytime job is that I help estate and letting agents attract landlords and vendors to them by ghostwriting them shed loads of local property market content, what's happening to house prices, yields, capital growth, so they can publish it under their own name and attract vendors and landlords to them. Some of that data that comes across my desk, though, is not of interest to homeowners and landlords, like house prices, rents, and yields, but is of fascinating interest to estate and letting agents. Hence, we've been doing this is our third year. We do the stats show, we pick a different town and really analyze it. Okay. So without further ado, let us go and have a look at the Redditch. Now, just before we kick off, it's only fair that I declare that 20EA have not paid me to mention their services or their platform. It is only fair that I also declare that they do give me this platform free of charge to enable me to show you the stats that you've already seen in the first part of the show. This bit of kit is available as a free version, although the timescales are only very limited. And then you can buy a town, I think it's 10 postcodes, a region, and nationally. The costs themselves, I'm aware of it, and I think it's damn good value for money. But again, I'm not going to mention the fees because I'm not on commission. If you are interested in what I'm about to show you, then just contact 20EA and mention Insights. And again, you do not mention my name because I'm not on commission. It's only fair I mention that. So without further ado, mates, we're going to have a look.
Let's do it.
We've done a disclaimer. So we're doing Redditch. So just for the benefits of everyone here, let's just pull up the postcodes. And the postcodes that we're looking at is B96, 97, and 98. Okay. And the first thing we're going to do is look at residential sales. Okay. So we start off with Arden Estates, remembering that 295. Mate, just jump in whenever you see something you like, because I'm just going to ramble, as you know. Arden Estates. 297, so therefore you can see there that they're middle of the road in terms of their estate agency. Wow, mate, look at that. Look at this. This is like absolutely amazing, a third of the month, and then a rubbish month there. And then amazing. That is spiky as hell, isn't it? Have you ever seen something
It
like
is, yeah. That's the hamster wheel, isn't it? you work your ass off to do some really great business, and then because you're working on that business, you forget you need to prospect and get your next little business lined up. So you go, you have your highs and your lows and your highs and your lows. But fair play, because when they have their highs are really great.
Yeah, I mean, look, just remembering we've got from the first of the first 20. Well, let's just have a quick look at their sales, just see if they're spiky as hell. No, that's fine. But in terms of listing, it looks like good month, bad month, feast and famine. Let's go and look at AP Morgan. Okay, so that I suspect, yeah, that's the April, so which is locked down. So there's always cute, scraggy figures around that. Looks like they have a good, then they go down. The good, they have, generally it looks like 24. They were doing well in 22 and 23, but it looks like they've drifted down in 25. Hmm, that's interesting. Very interesting. So it looks like here that we'll just have a quick look. So AP Morgan flying around that 20%. Ardens, let's have a look. So it looks like, let's just have a tell, mate, just for what's name and giggles. Let's just have a quick look and just see who is moving and shaking in the last year. So two big agents, Ardens, which is the black line, and the red line, which is AP Morgan, are really slogging it out. Looks like Lambert's, you had a good spring, but drifted downwards after spring. So it's two big agents slogging it out, mate. I've got nearly 50% of the market.
And do you know those agents, Chris?
Nope.
Oh, interesting. Great market share. Fair play.
Mm. I know Arden's a part of a small regional chain,
Okay.
but I don't know. Good to see EXP there. I think that's Samantha Sarone. I think. Apologies if I've mentioned your surname incorrectly, my love. Looks like you had an absolutely cracking September there, babes. But 5-6%, and I find it really poor show that some stages boss is saying, "Well, you've only got 5%." Yeah, but if Samantha hasn't got an office and any overheads, then that's ka-ching, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess I come from a London perspective, and so 5% of a London postcode is significant. I don't think, yeah, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, 5% of any market, if you are a low overhead business, sounds pretty good to me.
Right, let's go. Let's just bring it back. Okay, here we go. So let's have a look at Lambert's. Seem to be in their lane at 10%. Nothing, again, quite spiky. Osman's, come on. Looks like you guys had a bad 24 and early 25. I believe they're a small regional chain as well. Let's look at Visors or Visors. Okay, looks okay. Ignore 2020. Nice and steady, slight growth and a slight drift down in 24. Shipways, I believe they're part of Connell Sequence.
Oh, really?
Okay. So again, look, we've got the spikes in December because all Connell Sequence do the Boxing Day launch. So again, you can always tell if it's a Connell Sequence because they always have a spike on the December figures. EXP, there we go. Well done, Samantha. Nice steady growth there. Well done. Dixon's, nice bit of growth there. PB, okay, slight drifting downwards there, but again, what we would expect. Uh, Interestingly, nationally, they are growing slightly. Not much, but they are still growing. Hunters, King Holmes, Yopa, Andrew Taplin, Fine Country. But again, what you've got to remember is this: is let's just have a quick look at the upper quartile, mate. Um, and there isn't that much mega. I mean, okay. So 257 properties have come on the market over £750,000. Looks like Fine and Country are the daddios in that one. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so there doesn't look like there's much over £1 million.
Yeah, that's where the volume is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, ladies and gentlemen, I've just done the core postcodes. I haven't done because some of the other areas, countryside, goes into different areas and it's just getting messy. Okay, and you can see here, look, Okay, so Fine and Country and Arden Estates seem to be the posh agents there. Okay, that's fine. Okay, just
Oh, well done to Arden. They're the mass market and they take the top end as well. Good for them.
yeah, but again, I think it's mentioned that AP Morgan should be mentioned as well. Okay, right, let's move on and let's look at this. Right, okay, so a lot of stats going on here, ladies and gentlemen. So what I'm going to do is just go through this with you. Okay, bloody hell, mate, there's some good stats here. I'm liking this. Anyway, so the problem with stats is that most estate agents don't like stats. It's true.
It's just it's a great line. The problem with stats is that agents don't like them. That is, yeah,
No.
yeah, it is true. Yeah,
The type of personality type, a disc profile I type influencer, doesn't like micro detail. They use their personality to get things done. Ladies and
yeah,
gentlemen, there is some pure gold in this. Some impressive numbers as well. But the problem is that it's the classic, you can't see the wood for the trees. So most estate agents would look at the first four columns: new instruction market share, sold to contract percentage. I want you to totally ignore those, okay? Those are vanity metrics, ladies and gentlemen. The bottom line is this. If you put a house on the market, what is your percentage chance of you actually getting that shifted, i.e. exchanged and subsequently completing, okay? If you look at these four columns here, ladies and gentlemen, this is where the true magic happens, right? You see, if you add up your exchange percentage and your withdrawn percentage on every single line, you will get to the point that each line adds up to 100%. So what we know is this: in the last year, of the properties that have left Arden Estates books in the postcodes mentioned, there's been 330 plus 86, which will make that 414. No, 404, 416. Okay. No, other way around. 446. There you go. Hold on a second. 330. So it was right. 406,
yeah.
416. I do apologize. Do you know what a prat I am? Right. And of those, 79.33% of them have exchange contracts. Bet you'd wish you had that sort of figures down in London, mate, wouldn't you?
Oh, amazing. Yeah, that is just phenomenal. It's that basically from London, what we could be looking at right now is Mars.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, in London, so the average for the town is 69. So for every 100 homes that come onto the market in Redditch, 69.34% of them, that number there, will subsequently move on. That is a fantastic number. That's good for the Midlands. Okay. However, different agents perform different ways. So basically, Shipways and King's Homes, 55 and 56, whilst Arden's at 79. So if Arden's are going, but Morgan's at 70.38. So therefore, if I divided 79.33 by 70.38 at AP Morgan's, just using this as an example, then Arden Estates have a 13.3% greater chance of getting someone moved. So Arden's estate, and you could say that for Lambert's and probably Dixon's and EXP because you're all around the same sort of level. Mrs. Miggins, you have a 1 in 6 greater chance of moving with me than AP Morgan. But then AP Morgan could go against Shipways or some of the other brand opposite agents down there and say they're better than those. And that's the beauty of these stats, because these stats are bulletproof in terms of the way they do it. I mean, and again, just about all the agents use this. This is the book of truth when it comes to stats, because they're not just scraping websites. They have access to all the solicitor data as well, so they know when something does exchange. There's some great stats there. It's lovely to see that the big agents are all in the mid to late 70s. And I think if there's one thing here that I would be talking to AP Morgan that they need to improve on is that their withdrawal rate is quite high. Look, everyone else is around 20s. Shipways and Kings are up at 40. So what are you guys doing? You've got a lot of high withdrawals. Arden's are doing really well. John, if you're listening, that is an exceptional. John is the boss of Arden's. He's not a client of mine, but I just know him. Those are some great numbers.
phenomenal numbers. I mean, to
Okay.
be market leader for what looks like all the right reasons is really refreshing and really positive.
Let's look at fall throughs. 24.89% of house sales fall through, which is slightly higher than the national average of 22.2. Look, there's two agents here, EXP and Dixon's, 17, 18%. Well done, guys. I mean, those are cracking
Yeah.
great low fall through rates. Lambert's, you're up at 30. That's a bit high. AP Morgan's 36. So again, we're probably Lambert's need to improve on their fall throughs. Arden's, you're about average on your fall throughs. It's AP Morgan's need to improve on the withdrawals. So Morgan's on withdrawals and Lambert's on fall throughs. Yeah, and then Shipways need to improve on their withdrawals, as does King Homes and Allsman's. You need to improve on decent exchanges. Your withdrawals are quite high though, and your fall throughs are a bit high as well at 29. Let's look at the price changes. Nice and tight here, 31, 36s, 29s. Again, here we go. Look, EXP, well done, Samantha. Your price changes are at 15%. So might show that you're probably getting decent prices. Should we go and see who's overvaluing, mate? Is there anything you want to see?
Let's do it.
Okay. So we look what EXP have done here. They've looked at your exchanges in the last 2 years. Okay. And when that property came onto the market, okay, so we've just put them in the order of instructions. Ignore the numbers are irrelevant at this stage. What they do is this. They look at every exchange that leaves your books, not withdrawals, exchange. And when that property exchanges, they do two things. The first thing they do is look at when that house came on the market, what did you think the houses were? What do we think this is 20 EA think it's worth? And then compare it to what they put the property on the market for. So this is the overvaluing stat here, okay? And this is nice and tight. This shows that there's no stupid estate agents overvaluing. Okay, Osman's slightly at 1.5, but that's not end of the world. These are nice and tight. So it just shows me that the big agents are not overvaluing in Redditch. And again, let's just remind ourselves, that's why this number of 69%. So if you need proof, there's a huge proof. If you watch the shows back, we always have proof at this section. Price them right, they sell, you get paid. Because you ain't here for fun. Remember, estate agency is not Tinder for ugly people. Tinder for ugly people is, I didn't get the listing, but at least they like me. Yeah, we're paid to get the house sold, not to get the listing. Right, what did people look? Oh my God, this is just amazing. Right, here we go. Look, what price achieved from original asking price? So can you remember that Samantha had low price changes? Where was she? EXP, this one. Low price changes, decent exchanges, and basically she's putting them on at 0.84, which is, in terms of the big agents, one of the lowest. You know, the only one that's lower is Visors. But she's getting 0.03% off the original asking price, whilst the others are getting 2%. Now, the issue here is, ladies and gentlemen, is a lot of people don't like percentages. So what happens is 20 EA say, right, if everyone put on a £300,000 house, what would the agents achieve for it? Ardens would achieve 295, 600. AP Morgan 297, 500. Lambert's 296, 500. EXP 302,400. So therefore, if I was EXP going up against Ardens, you could actually say, I will get you just under £7,000 more for your home than that other agent. Because that is you could have this bit of kit on a laptop and you could say, look, Mrs. Miggins, here's proof. Independent people have said, this is for an average house in Redditch, And don't get me wrong, there's people that are beating you
Yeah,
purple.
look, I was just going to say, look at that. Isn't that interesting? The EXP, self-employed agent, next one down that's doing the same thing, Purple Bricks, self-employed agency. Very interesting.
And if
Yeah.
you actually look at the national stats, the agents who are personal agents, i.e., take it from start, self-employed, there are other agents that are not personal agents. There's a direct linkage between those who take the sale from all the way through and A, achieving a higher price and B, getting a higher exchange ratio. So really, really well done. Can you see, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I love this bit of kit. Now, what is particularly interesting is this, Ben, and don't worry, no one watches the show, so no one, is that there's a certain very large estate agent that had this bit of kit for years, and they weren't particularly liked. I will not mention their name, it's not professional for me to do so, but they were getting their exchange ratio in terms of the big agents nationally were blowing everyone out of the water, and the price that they were achieving was blowing everyone out of the water. Yet because they couldn't read a spreadsheet, they didn't realize it and have really gone downhill. If they just had you applied these stats in their marketing saying you have an X percentage greater chance of selling and you will get an extra 4,600 whatever more. There you go. This is the power of data, ladies and gentlemen. And that's
I
why
think, sorry, Chris.
oh, no, go on.
Well, I just think your average agent is big on building rapport. You know, generally, like me and you, I would describe as probably analytical people, but your average agent is is friendly and charming, is charismatic, and I just think if they were to overlay that charisma with this data, which just drives so much trust into the relationship, they just become unbeatable if they look at both sides of the coin, not just the charm piece, but the professionalism and the expertise that you drive through the relationship when you're able to talk about data at this level. In our business, we've been obsessed around data for years. We've got some really, really great salespeople, but arming them with great data, I think it's potent as a combination.
It's the emotion and the logic. And remember, human beings make decisions based on emotion and logic. The best way to do them is to hit them with emotion first, get emotional buy-in first, because 19 out of 20 decisions a human makes are the emotional side of the brain has to say yes first. But if you can then back it up with cold, hard facts, you've won. You've won the estate. You've won at the selling game. But you've got
Mm-hmm.
to do it in that order. And again,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, if you are, what I do is I help estate agents read data, create the data. And if anyone watching this wants more analysis on this, then in Redditch, do give me a call. Right, let's move on. Let's see which, well, bloody hell, this is turning into an EXP fest. Right, okay, so EXP are taking on average 22 days from new instruction to sale agreed, whilst Allsman's are at 79. Dixon's 36. Remember, this is NI, new instruction to sale agreed. We'll just go down the list. And then we'll now do the pink line, which is how long the sales take to go through. So they're all much of a muchness. Allsman's do seem to take a longer, there you go, 146 days. So it's taken on average 59 days to get a sale agreed. This is the last 12 months. Let's compare that to the 12 months before that, 49 days. So it has gone up on average 126 days. But yeah, I'm loving EXP. I'm loving Dixon's. Yeah. Anything on that before we move on to lettings?
No, just great numbers. It's yeah, it's really interesting to see, and I wonder where EXP or the operator for EXP who's doing great things, where they're going to be in a year or two
Well,
if they carry on in this trajectory.
yeah, I mean, we'll just have a quick look at what she was doing. There you go. So nice, steady growth. And again, looks like you've had a slightly harder start, Samantha, to 25, but I'm sure you'll get back up there. Let's just go and have a quick look at lettings. Okay, so the average rent in Redditch 728 in 2020 and the first quarter of 21 versus today, the average rent is 964. Let's have a look at how the different agents are operating. We'll just wait for that to come back. Wait for it. Patience. Taking its time. Here we go. So we start off with visors. Right, okay, now this is the big one, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. The number 15, 16% of properties, 12, 13% of properties. Can I remind you, ladies and gentlemen, if Open Rent were a letting agent, you would have to amalgamate the 16 next biggest estate agency chains to even match them, let alone beat them. And this is the killer bit. 51.2, which is half of all the properties that Open Rent have put onto the market were previously on the market with a high street agent. The actual stats to the rental market is that the number of this shocks people to hell. The number of rental properties is still growing. People go, no, you're talking bollocks, Watkin. I'm not. The stats are there. And
What is happening in the rental market? So what's the sort of what is the lay of the land in terms of growth? It's just growing sort of marginally at the moment.
it is growing marginally. So, let me just see. I don't know if I can get this from my phone. Hold on a second. Let me just see if I can get this from my phone to the computer. Keep filling up. Keep filling it, mate. Keep
Let
filling.
me. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great. All right. Well. Yeah. I think the amount of airtime that the renters reform bill is getting right now could be seen, I guess, as a double-edged sword. There's lots of negativity around it, but I imagine we don't work in lettings, but huge opportunity if you're a letting agent to be talking to self-managed landlords about maybe it's time to look at a professional managed service because of all the issues that are coming down the line or potential
Oh,
risk down there.
mate, I've just done a 1 hour, 40-minute presentation with the king of lettings and renters right bill, which is David Smith. I also did half an hour with Suzanne Smith as well, who's amazing as well. Do check them out on my YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. The amount of opportunity is massive. There's some big hidden unintended consequences, which is going to, a big one is this: if you put the notice into the to the tenant that they've got to move out because the landlord wants to move into the house, you cannot put that house back on the market for rent in 12 months. So if you sell it and the sale falls through, you can't rent it out, not even on Airbnb, for 12 months. Shocking.
That's interesting.
Have I taught you something today?
Pardon?
I hope I haven't taught you something today.
Well, that you've managed to teach me something there. Yeah,
So
that
you got to
seems
give in the
quite a
renters'
short
right bill,
time.
you've got to give 4 months' notice, then they move out. You cannot put can you put the house on the market during those 4 months? If the tenant doesn't want to show people around, you cannot force them. The
Sure.
property
Yeah.
then comes onto the market empty, and if for whatever reason you don't sell it, I'll put a tenant back in it. You cannot put a tenant back in it for 12 months from the date the tenant moves out.
Absolutely wild. Absolutely insane. Go out there, buy an asset, provide an extremely important service to this country. We thank you for everything you've done, and now we're going to make it really difficult for you. Unbelievable.
Every tenancy on the date it goes live becomes a periodic tenancy. So there's people
Yeah.
that a guarantee of a 3 or 4 year they lose that.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the big one is the relet. You cannot. Oh, do you know what the fine is?
Go on.
Up to 2 years worth of rent.
Wild. Just wild.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're worried about the lettings, I do again just type in renters. Type into Google Christopher Watkin renters right bill. We've got two massive videos on there, full of groovy data, and facts and figures about it. There are massive opportunities on the renters right bill. I'm teaching my clients that at the moment. Don't put your head in the sand, and don't even talk to me about the EPC regulations that are changing at the end of the year potentially, or the year out. That's
Yeah,
massive.
I would love to. I'd love to be a fly on the wall. You know, the conversation is we've got housing prices in this country. People can't afford rents that are market rate at the moment. We need to get more landlords. We need more investment. We need more housing. What should we do? Yeah, let's make it a more difficult landscape for the landlords we've already got that have committed to the process. Just Just a wild thought process that this is the way we achieve more. Crazy.
Right, here we go. You asked me for what's happening in the rental market. There you go. Those are so that's 4.87 million. Okay, I haven't got the 24 figures yet, but what I do have is anecdotal evidence of the tax receipts and the stamp duty receipts coming in and out because you've got capital gains going out because
Mhm.
you can track all this stuff. I can again. I'm going to hazard a guess. It's going to be a slight increase, but it's not the same increases as we saw the step changes in the 2000s. Okay.
Mm.
Now, someone's going
Mhm.
to say, Chris, what about rent to rent? Okay, rent to rent would take that down to 4.77 because there's about 100,000 build to rent, not rent to rent, build to rent. Okay,
Okay.
okay. The magic thing is this. Here you go, right? That's open rent. That Orange is Connells. Property Franchise Group, that's Martin and Co, Belvoir, Northwood, all added together. Leaders Romans, Foxtons, Dexters, Lomans. Look, you would actually have to add, I think we worked it out, 16 of these, the next biggest, to make that. And of that, half of that red was previously on the market with everyone else. The biggest problem with lettings today is not the Renters' Rights Bill. It's not Section 24. It's letting agents not proving their worth to landlords and therefore they're saying, hey, you just whack it on Rightmove. It's dead easy.
Mm.
Because we only ring agents, we only ring our landlords up when there's a problem. When was the last time we sat down with our landlords and actually did a portfolio management? Or do we just ring them up when the tenant rings up saying they're dripping tap? If that's all you're doing, then you're going to lose your managed stock. Anyway, let's get back. Oh, do you know? Right, here we go. So let's have a look. So visors seem to be the ones that are the main letting agent. Is the graph on the screen? It is, isn't it? Let's
It
look
is,
at
yeah.
let's look at Lambert's. Bit spiky. Dixons are growing. Well done. So where have Open Rent taken their stock from? AP Morgan are drifting down slightly. Let's look at Hunters, Steady, Ardens. So it looks like Ardens, you're drifting slightly on your lettings. I know these are new instructions, but again, it gives us a flavour of what your stock levels are. Let's look at Leaders, growing slightly. John Shepherd, Secure Lets. We'll just have a quick look at some of these. There you go. All good fun. Right. I think that's where we are. So let's get off our soapboxes. Um, Ben, I'll come to you in a second for final thoughts. I'd like to thank everyone for watching this. I'd like to thank everyone watching the show, the first part of the show. If you are a Redditch agent and you'd like to pick my brain on any of the stats you've seen, we can deep dive a little bit more. Then my telephone number is 07950147572. You can more than happy for you to give me a chat. Normally, when that happens, most of the agents do ring me up. So if you don't ring me up, that will be your loss and your competitor's gain. I hope that's been of interest. And where we have not criticised anyone, we're just giving you the stats to hopefully grow your businesses. Final words with Ben. Thank you, Ben.
I think it's been a very positive show because the data points to um, all the naysaying nonsense not being justified. We've been through a very, very interesting last 5 years, the last three in particular. The economy and the British people have shown enormous resilience. We've had a stamp duty holiday that's just come to an end, and we've seen a fantastic last week of sales agreed, which tells me once again the resilient consumers of the UK are getting on with moving, and we should all look forward to doing some of our best work this year and achieving great things.
Mate, exceptional as always. We'll see you in a few months' time on your return if you'll be back. I know I think you've done about 7 or 8 of these, and you're always excellent value for money. I know you only come on this show because of the smoke will blow up your backside.
Absolutely. It's the highlight of my roughly every 2 to 3 months. Absolutely the highlight.
Do follow Ben. He's absolutely exceptional. He's particularly interested in mental health with estate agents and men. So again, he does have his the Ben's Club. Is that how it was?
Boys Club, Boys Club.
Okay, I do follow him. He's really, really insightful, top chap. But most importantly, thank you for watching. We'll see you next week with a different special guest for week 13 of the Property Market Stat Show. See you now.